ओम हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम तपोभिः क्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते। Adi Shankaracharya very clearly explained that even though Deha Indriya, body, mind, senses are active, Vyapruteshu, but Atma is not Vyapari, he is not making any activity. And therefore, we have to understand this clearly that Atma is Akarta Abhokta. Atma doesn't perform any actions. Whatever actions are there, they are performed by this body, mind, sense complex. Now, if we take it this way, there is another question. Nanu achetana vyaparatvam katham chet uchyate. Any activities, any actions are performed by the conscious being, cannot be performed by inert objects. This book cannot perform any action because it is inert. Same way, if this body, mind, sense complex is made up of Panchamahabhuta, it is what? It is inert. So how can you say that the activities are performed by this body, mind, sense complex? Because it is jada, it is inert. Inert object cannot perform any actions. So if you make a statement that whatever actions are performed by Deha, body, mind, sense complex are not performed by the Atma, okay, Atma is a karta, accepted. But how this jada, this inert can perform action? We don't see in the world that any inert object is performing the actions. Understand? Yadva nano atmanaha kartutvamastu karaitritvam. Not only that, Atma, there is no doership in the Atma. Understand? So Atma doesn't have doership and this body, mind, sense complex is inert. How Atma is going to perform any action or going to make others making actions, performing actions, understand? And therefore, how is it possible? You are telling Atma is a all-pervasive consciousness, doesn't have any instrument to perform the actions, and body, mind, sense complex is inert, so it cannot perform actions. Understand? So now there is a problem. Who is performing the action? Body, mind, sense complex is inert. Ityadi, understand? Atma himself is not performing an action. He doesn't even make others performing actions. Understand? And so, then the question is how this body, mind, sense complex is performing the action. Understand this? Very beautiful question. You know? Atma is all-pervasive consciousness. It doesn't perform action. It is akarta, abhokta. That is clear to us. Question is who is performing action? The one who is performing action is a conscious being or inert. And therefore, iti shankayam, shanka means there is a doubt. Aditya sannidhau loka cheshta cheshtate swayameva tu tatha. So, the Tikakar gives the example. Yatha Aditya sannidhau lokah cheshtate swayameva tu tatha. Mat sannidhau samastam cheshtate jagat iti shruti anusarena. Though this world is inactive, in the presence of the sun, everything becomes active. Similarly, in the presence of the conscious being, everything becomes enlivened. Understand this word, enlivened. So now we have three words. One is jada, inert. Second is chaitanya, atma, consciousness. Now there is in between something is there. Jad cannot perform action, chaitanya cannot perform action. Who is performing action? So Atma is not performing action. It's fine. But in the presence of Atma, this body, mind, sense complex works. The same thing Bhagavan has said in Gita also. Maya dakshena prakrutihi suyate sacharat. Look at this. This Prakriti, she creates this Maya, creates this creation. In my presence, Maya dakshena. Bhagavan says, in my presence, this Maya creates the universe. Because Maya also is mithya, we already saw. As in the same manner, this body, mind, sense complex perform action in the presence of the self. So, to explain this, Shankaracharya gives the next verse number 20. Atma chaitanyamashritya dehendriya manodiyah swakriyartheshu vartante स्वकीयार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यालोकं यथा जनाः आत्म चैतन्यम आश्रित्य, depending on the self consciousness, body, mind, sense complex, Swakiya artheshu vartan. They are performing action into their own field. Swakiya Arthesh. Understand? Outside words are there because of the presence of the consciousness. Ears are listening to the words. Outside rupam, name, forms are there. In the presence of the consciousness, eyes are seeing, performing the action of seeing. Darsana Kriya is called. So, Shankaracharya says, though this body, mind, sense complex is inert, because of the presence of the consciousness, depending on the consciousness, it is performing the action. It's beautiful. Look at this. How? Suryalokam yatha janaha. Suryalokam. Aloka means light. When there is a light of sun, everybody is active. When there is a darkness, as though everything is halt. And therefore, we have to understand very clearly this. That's why I say there is a consciousness is there, which is you. This body, mind, sense complex, which is inert. So, the third one is called Chetana. Chetan. Conscious being. Consciousness, inert, conscious being. Understand this word properly. Chetana. Though this body, mind, sense complex by nature is inert, in the presence of the Atma, it is Chetana. It is conscious being. How is it possible? How this body is conscious being, this book is not conscious being? Because consciousness is all pervasive. This body or this book also is consciousness. This body also is consciousness. This world also is consciousness. We already saw. But there is a something special in this body, mind, sense complex. This body, we saw already, this body is made up of the 5 gross elements. This book also is made up of the 5 gross elements. But this body is a special, any body. This body means dog body is there, ant body is there, called yoni in the Shastra. This body has something unique. This body has a capacity to have subtle body. Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. Here, gross is there. There is no subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. Understand? We already saw. Apanchikruta Mahabhutaihi Kritam Karma Sanchita. So, this gross body is a special body where there is a subtle body is there. Because of the presence of this subtle body, this inert body becomes conscious being, Chetana. But how is it possible? We already saw that Buddhi and mind are made up of the Sattvic Panchamahabhuta. And Sattvic Panchamahabhuta it is, there are Nirmalatvat. The Sattva Guna, the quality of the Sattva Guna is a Nirmalatvat. It is a pure. So it is like a mirror. When the mirror is clean, it reflects the sun as it is. So, see, this body, when this wall, when we say, there is a light. There is a source of light, tube light is there. This wall, understand these two words. This wall is illumined by the light of the tube light. But what it does, it is, when I say this wall is illumined by the light, what it does? It throwbacks the light only. But instead of the wall, if there is a mirror, then what happens? It reflects the light. There are two words that are in English, refraction and reflection. Refraction means what? It just simply reflects the light only. Reflect. But when there is a mirror, it reflects the light. That means what? In the mirror, you see the tube light. And that tube light is reflected. Am I clear? Same way. This body is like a wall. But the Sukshma Shari, the subtle body, which is made up of the 17 parts, 5 prana, 5 gnanendriya, 5 karmendriya, manaha and buddhi. It has a capacity to reflect the consciousness called Chidabhasa. Reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa. Abhasa means reflection. And therefore, the reflection, consciousness is being reflected in the buddhi. That reflected consciousness is being reflected into the mind. That which is reflected by the mind is reflected by the indriyas, senses. And one sense, which is called tvagendriya, skin, the sense of touch, is all pervasive on this body, and therefore this body also looks enlivened, chetan. And so, this reflected consciousness, because of the reflection, see, if you come to India, near Mumbai, in Maharashtra, there are caves are there, Ajanta Ellora caves. Ellora is a monolithic temple, Kailasa temple is there. From huge stone, it started from the top. And it is carved from one stone from the top to bottom. Huge temple. It's a mystery because all the stones are chiseled and then it is temple. The mystery is we don't see those chiseled stone and around this Kailasa temple. We don't know what it is being done to the stones. And near that is called Ajanta caves. There are, in the stone, all the caves are made. We don't know what kind of the technology they had. That they had all this is a lava stone in Maharashtra. They are sorry. I am on hot water now. These lava stones are very hard stone. And in Ajanta, there are a lot of caves are there. And under the caves, there are huge statue of Buddha. It's almost 25 feet huge statue of Buddha sitting in the meditation. Many more caves, almost 32 caves are there. And inside, if you go, it is all pitch dark. And certain caves, there are beautiful, colorful paintings are there on the wall. This stone walls, there are beautiful paintings. Color paintings. Top of the wall means the ceiling also is painted. Wall also is painted. But inside it is a pitch dark. The question is how they did this one. So one of the theory is what? That they must have put the mirror at the door of the cave, so the sunlight is being reflected from the mirror and goes inside. And so it is illuminated. Some say if they didn't have mirror, they would have put the water there. So water also reflects the sun and the sunlight is inside the cave. They're not like 10 feet, 20 feet, understand? 40 feet, 50 feet inside. So that reflected sun, the light is there inside. Now, the person who is inside the cave, he sees the light, he sees the sun reflected in the mirror. So he thinks what? Oh, the light is coming from the mirror. He's inside. So he thinks the light is coming from the mirror. Because of the reflection of the sun, mirror becomes self-illumined, looks like self-illumined. Do you understand? But when he comes out, he understands that the sun is being reflected in this mirror, and that reflected sunlight is inside the cave. Similarly, Atma is all pervasive. Surya Aloka. Aloka means light. We already saw. The sunlight is all pervasive. But mirror has a capacity to reflect the sun, called pratibimba. The reflection of the sun you can see in the mirror. Similarly, the reflection of the consciousness is there in the buddhi. So this chidabhasa in the buddhi, mind, sense complex. They looks like they are chetan, conscious being. Not consciousness, they are conscious being, chetana. And therefore, though body, mind, sense complex is inert, the subtle body has a capacity to reflect the consciousness as the mirror reflects the sun. You can see the sun in the mirror. You can see the sun in the water. Here on the wall, you cannot see the source of the light. And therefore, what happens? Because they are enlivened, they perform the action. So that's why in short, Shankaracharya says, Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya. Depending on the consciousness of the Atma, this body, mind, sense complex also looks as though they are Chaitana. Being Chaitana, it performs all actions in their own field. Eyes are performing the actions of seeing, ears are performing the actions of listening, hands are performing the action of holding, legs are performing action of walking, speech is performing action of talking. Understand? So all this body, mind, sense complex is being enlivened because of the reflection of the consciousness called Chaitanya. And therefore, Chaturmukha Indriya Deveshu Manushya Ashwagavadishu Chaitanyamekam Sakshi Chaitanya. Though the consciousness all pervasive, one non-dual witness consciousness, but reflected in this body. And therefore, this body performs the action. See, this is our own experience. When somebody dies, body is here. Understand? Few hours before, this body was alive because the subtle body was there. Prana leaves the body, this body becomes inert, jada. And therefore, now we have three: jada, inert consciousness, and then reflected consciousness, subtle body. And therefore, wherever there is a subtle body, it is called Chaitana. This Chaitana, this conscious being, this Chaitana body performs the action. And therefore, what happens? Look at this. Swamini used to give example of the fire. So in the winter, lot of people just sit outside and they have campfire. And while talking, unconsciously, somebody touched that fire, got burnt. Now, when there is burning is there, it is what? Fire burns the finger. Look at this sentence. Fire burns the finger. So this is called limitation of the language. Then that person got angry and said, "Hey, fire, you are burning my finger." Fire, yes. Why did you burn my finger? I didn't burn your finger. Just now you said you burned my finger. Now, no, I didn't burn your finger. Why? I didn't run after your finger to get it burned. You brought your finger to me and therefore you got burned. That means what? Though we use this verb, fire burns, but in fact, fire doesn't make an action of burning. Understand this very amazing verse. Fire doesn't make the actions of burning. Why? Because heat is the quality of the fire. Fire is hot, ushna. anybody touches the fire, get burned. Understand? Fire doesn't need to burn somebody, doesn't make the action of burning. Anything which comes in touch with the fire gets burned. Suppose you ask sun, oh sun, are you illuminating this world? Yes. Why are you illuminating? I don't illuminate. In my presence, everything is being illumined. Understand? Illumination is because of the sun. But sun doesn't perform the actions of illumination because it is self-illumined object. When anybody comes in front of the sun, it gets illumined. Called Sannidhi, presence. Understand? Fire doesn't have the doership of burning somebody. Sun doesn't have a doership of illumining somebody. In the presence of the sun, everything gets illumined. In the presence of the fire, when you touch it, you get burned. There is no doership of burning in the fire. Similarly, in the presence of the self, this body performs the action, but the self has no doership by itself. In the presence of the consciousness, this body performs the action. But the doership is not there. As there is no doership of burning in the fire, there is no doership of illuminating in the sun. Similarly, Atma is non-doer, akarta. But in the presence of this Atma, this body is enlivened, and body performs the action. That means what? The self which has taken itself as Deha Indriya Mano Buddhi, Jiva it's called, takes himself as Karta. Because takes himself as body, mind, sense, complex. But in reality, there is no doership in the Atma. Only in the presence of the Atma, all actions are being performed. Understand? Therefore, inert cannot perform action. Chaitanya, consciousness also cannot perform action. But in the presence of the consciousness, this body, mind, sense complex is enlivened and they perform the action. Therefore, very clearly we have to understand that consciousness is all pervasive. Even as I give the example that there is a dead body, even body also is consciousness, understand? Because it's all pervasive. Dead body also is consciousness. But wherever there is a reflection of the consciousness, this Chaitana, therefore Jad and Chetan, when we say, Jad also is consciousness, Chetan also is consciousness. But Chaitana has reflected consciousness and therefore we call it as a Chaitana. Understand? Only difference between inert and the conscious being is that there is a presence of subtle body and there is absence of subtle body. Otherwise, consciousness is all pervasive. Dead body also is consciousness. Inert stone also is consciousness. Water also is consciousness. But presence of subtle body and absence of subtle body. Where there is a presence of the subtle body, it is enlivened and it performs the action. And therefore, This, as in the presence of the light of the sun, everything is active. But sun doesn't have a doership of make other active. Similarly, Atma is not by himself, is not performing action. There is no doership in the Atma. Not only that, na karayita. Therefore, in Gita, Bhagavan says, kam hanti, kam ghatayati. Look at this beautiful. How this Atma can kill somebody or make somebody kill somebody. Understand? See, in this world, there are two types of the actions. I'm talking, I'm performing an action. Karta, it is called. But I can make somebody do something called karita. See, a lot of these criminals, they themselves, they live very royal life. All dawn, mafia. They live very happy life, very normal life. They make somebody to go and kill somebody. When that fellow gets caught, then he will say, I'm paid for killing this person. That means what? He doesn't have that. So in criminals also, the main criminal is that Don, understand, not this fellow. Because this fellow was paid for killing somebody. So the main doer is who? This mafia. So Atma doesn't perform action, but it makes somebody else perform action. No. Na karta, na karayida. Atma doesn't perform actions by itself, not make somebody else perform action. Understand? Akarta, akarayida. Therefore, Bhagavan said, katham hanti, katham ghate. How Atma can kill or how Atma makes other to kill somebody. No. Both type of the doerships are not there in Atma. Only in the presence of the Atma, all these activities are going on. Understand? Therefore, though in the light of the sun everything is active, the sun doesn't have the doership of make others active. Similarly, in the presence of consciousness, everything is active. All indriyas are performing actions. All indriyas are working in their own field. Mind is thinking, body is active, buddhi also thinking, and nothing touches Atma. Atma is akarta. Only in the presence of Atma, all these things are going on. And therefore, though the body is inert, because of the presence of the Atma, it is enlivened, Chetana. We have to make this very clear. And body performs the action. That means what? Not only this body is mithya, even action also is mithya. Do you understand now? By this verse, we can understand that even action also is mithya. Anything which depends on something else for its existence is called mithya. We already saw the definitions of mithya. So action is depending on the consciousness, and therefore action also is what? Mithya. It's constantly changing, therefore it is mithya. Even though you tell people, then also they So, this understanding that all actions also are mithya because they are constantly changing, vikari. They are born and they are gone. See all these definitions of mithya. That depends on the consciousness for its existence, therefore it is mithya. It is constantly changing, vikari, and therefore it is mithya. It is born and it is gone, therefore it is mithya. And you cannot say there is no sadasat, anirvachaniya. You cannot say there is no action. Action is there. There is a result of action also is there. But at the same time, from the standpoint of the Atma, you cannot say there is action. Action is there. You cannot prove it is. And therefore, action also is mithya. Body also is mithya. Action performed by the body also is mithya. Understand? But because of the ignorance of the true nature of the self, we take all this action on us. I perform. Ahankarta. Ahankara vimudhatma karta hamiti manyate. In Gita, Bhagavan says, because of this ignorance, he thinks himself, I am the one who is performing the action. In reality, Atma, you, the self-consciousness, doesn't perform any action. Only in the presence of the Atma, all actions are being performed. As in the presence of the light of the sun, everything is active. So therefore, we have to understand this clearly, that I am that witness consciousness who doesn't perform any action. Only in my presence, everything is active. I'm not directly or indirectly involved in any action. Atma is, consciousness is akarta. That we have to see this clearly, that everything is happening. I'm not doing anything. See, therefore, in 5th chapter, Bhagavan says, what is the understanding of that knowledgeable person, wise person? Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavita. The tattva, the one who has known the reality of the self, he understands naiva kinchit karomiti. I'm not performing any action. Though body is performing action, Bhagavan enlisted all these activities. Pashyan, Shrunvan, Sprushan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan, Pralapan, Unmishan, Nimishan. All 5 senses are active. They are perceiving the objects. All 5 organs of actions, karmendriyas, are performing their actions. Pralapan, Visrujan, all this is karmendriya. Then there are involuntary actions are going, nimishan, numishan. And the eyes, you close eyes and you open the eyes. Nimishan, unnimishan. All these indriyas are active, mind is active, buddhi is active. Still what? Naiva kinchit karometi. I am not performing an action. So this is the take of this verse, that though all this body, mind, sense complex is performing action, in the presence of the Atma, Atma doesn't perform the action. You are non-doer, understand? Akarta Atma. In your presence, everything is happening. Whether it is a body, mind, sense complex or this entire creation. Understand? Akarta. I am akarta. Naiva kinchit karomi. Indriyani indriyashesu vartante itimatva sajjate. It never get attached to the actions because the wise person knows that senses are active in their own field. Swakyartheshu vartante. Understand the second line of the verse. The senses are active in their own field. But Atma is not performing any action. Only in the presence of the Atma, all these senses are active in their own field. But Atma is not performing. See, if you understand this, that I am a karta, you will be the most relaxed person in the world. And because you are not doing anything. Or you don't have to do anything, understand? Nobody can force you to do anything. Everything is happening in your presence. Now, there is one question. If you say, Swamiji, if you are telling that everything is happening in my presence, then there is no papa and punya for me. Yes, you are right. Papa and punya shall not touch because you are a karta. But because you have taken this body, mind, sense complex as I, that there is I sense in this one, ahankara vimuda. You take the I, there is I sense in this body, mind, sense complex called superimposition. You have superimposed body, mind, sense complex on yourself, and therefore all this action is by you and they catch you. But Swamiji, if everything is there, then if I perform any wrong action, adharma, I won't get papa. I don't incur any papa. No. If you think, then you are getting it. Do you understand? Our problem is what? When it comes to papa, then say, okay, I'm a kartatma, I am not doing any action. What about punya? Punya also is, I'm not perfect. And therefore, once we understand that this reflected consciousness is there, because of which all these actions are being performed, but by itself, the self itself is not performing any action. You have to see this very clearly. It's called, Pujya Swamiji's word is, you have to create the thumb space between you and the body, mind, sense complex. And it's exactly like we saw actor and beggar. Beggar is actor, actor is not beggar. B is A is not B. But physically, if you see, physically there is no difference. The clothes of the beggar is the clothes of the actor. The expressions of the face of the beggar is the expression of the actor. Action of the beggar is action of the actor. There is no physical distance between the beggar and the actor, understand? The only distance is what? In the understanding of the actor, that I am performing the role of beggar. That means beggar is me, I am not beggar. By playing the role of the beggar, he earns a lot of money, understand? And therefore, there is a thumb space between the actor and the beggar. Beggar depends on the actor for its existence. Actor doesn't depend on the beggar for its existence. Similarly, this body, mind, sense complex depends on the Chaitanya. Atma Chaitanya Ashritya, understand? But Atma Chaitanya doesn't, you, the consciousness, doesn't depend on this body, mind, sense complex. You are independent. In your presence, this is happening. And therefore, we have to create this distance in our understanding. In the 13th chapter, in 15th chapter, Bhagavan call it Gnan Chakshu, the eyes of the knowledge. In the eyes of the knowledge, you can understand that body, mind, sense complex is Atma, but Atma is not body, mind, sense complex. Atma is the one who gives the satta, the existence and the consciousness to everything. It lends its existence to this world. It lends its consciousness to this body, mind, sense complex. Understand? And therefore, you are non-doer. You are akarta atma, abhokta atma. In your presence, everything is happening, but you are not touched by it because you are witness conscious. Tomorrow, we'll see again. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrutyorma amrutangamaya. Om purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om to everyone.
Hari Om, Swamini.
Hari Om.